Eleni Tsakopoulos Kounalakis has been the U.S. ambassador to Hungary since January of last year, and from my point of view, it looks as if she's been here much longer because she's accomplished so much in such a short period of time. I think you're all aware of how visible and active she is in Hungary. She's a very dear friend of this university, and I'm honored to say, a frequent visitor. Most recently, she came and was a lecturer in my class just about 2 weeks ago, and it was a special opportunity to hear the perspective of the United States government at that time on the developments in North Africa and the Middle East, as well as all over the world. Please join me in welcoming Ambassador Tsakopoulos Kounalakis to CEU.
So I was asked to speak primarily today on the United States' relationship with Europe and also with Hungary in the context of Hungary's EU presidency. I would start by saying that we view our relationship with Europe, including with Hungary, as critically important. And as President Obama has said, Europe is the cornerstone for our engagement with the rest of the world. The trajectory of Europe over the last 20 years has been exceptionally positive. As it is in the United States' interest to see a unified and strong Europe, we support initiatives such as the Lisbon Treaty that help give rise to a louder single European voice. We support the efforts of High Representative Catherine Ashton toward creating a more consistent, comprehensive, and effective European foreign policy. The EU has shown that it increasingly wants to and is capable of addressing pan-European challenges. From the integration of the Western Balkans to supporting democracy across the EU's eastern border to promoting energy security and equality of opportunity for all of Europe's citizens, including the Roma, we see strong European leadership. And as you will have noticed, Hungary specifically has identified these areas as priorities for their EU presidency. I'll talk more about how the United States can play a supporting role a little later, but the point I want to make now is that with a strong European partner, the focus of our attention can increasingly turn from how we work with Europe on European matters to how we can work with Europe on global issues and combat common threats. This is critically important, since the 21st century world looks far different than the 20th century world. If we step back and try to see the world from the Washington point of view, what do we see? Well, in the Middle East and beyond, we see a yearning of people by people for representative and accountable governance, which is colliding with authoritarian rule. We see Iran and North Korea continuing to work on their nuclear programs and presenting serious proliferation concerns. We see China and India emerging as economic powerhouses. We see instability in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and we also see stateless terror, drug and criminal networks operating around the globe. So, taking all this in, we think to ourselves, where do we begin? And the first thing we realize is that we need partners and friends, and Europe is the first place that we look. We may not always agree with Europe on every issue, but I challenge you to find any closer allies or natural partners. I would like to say a few words about the Hungarian EU presidency. It was unfortunate that the start of the presidency was somewhat clouded by the debates surrounding the media law, since Hungary has put forth a number of priorities that the United States views as extremely important and that we would like to see advanced during Hungarian leadership. Among them is the continued political and economic integration of the Western Balkans into Europe, including the accession of Croatia into the European Union. Of course, meeting the membership requirements is up to each candidate, and the decision to grant admission lies with the EU. But as a friend of the EU and with such a stake in the region, we believe that the EU membership brings stability as well as contributes to the social and economic development of each country. So, as you can see, our agenda is wide and diverse, and while China and India may attract headlines, it is Europe that is standing by our side on every issue. President Obama stressed that the United States would act in partnership with the rest of the world, and only in partnership will we be successful. And on that note, I'm going to conclude my prepared remarks and open it up to your questions. Thank you.
Here are a couple of questions. There are a number of questions about Hungary, not surprisingly, and I think you're especially qualified to answer those questions. What is your opinion about the ongoing consultations on the new Hungarian constitution? Is the social discussion satisfying in your opinion? And then a second question, how would you assess the relationship of the present Hungarian government with the United States, especially in light of the first few months of the Hungarian EU presidency?
Hungary long ago graduated from the United States programs of establishing democracy, and that we believe that Hungary is a healthy and fully functioning democracy. So that is, I want to be clear about that. When you start looking at the individual acts, like the establishment of the Constitution or otherwise, then, just to peel back the onion further, we as the United States have to ask ourselves, when is it appropriate for us to engage in the political decisions that are being made in a country? You know, the United States does not interfere with the internal political decisions of the countries where we are hosted. We believe that there are very capable people in this country who can put together a constitution that is a good constitution for the people of Hungary, and one that protects your rights to freedom and to freedom of expression and to freedom of the press and to the rule of law. We believe that absolutely. Where it ends up in some of the decisions that I would say get into the political realm, the only thing that I would say about that is that in the United States experience, a constitution is a strong constitution when it envelops the opinions of the country that it is where the citizens are being represented.
What were your personal expectations when taking over the embassy, and what would you like to achieve during your term in Budapest?
When I came here, I had a whole list of goals and ideas, and then I got here, and of course all of that goes out the window, and you just start working and dealing with things as they arise. But what I recognized coming in fairly soon was that Hungary was in a moment of great transition. The Bajnai government had initiated significant reforms in order to comply with the agreements relative to the financial package that Hungary had put together not too long before, and the austerity measures that the Bajnai government had to institute were clearly difficult for the citizens of Hungary, difficult for balancing the budget, and I was happy to have a chance to get to know Gordon Bajnai and understand what major drastic changes he had to put into place during his year here. But it was very clear by the time I came that that the elections were going to change things significantly, and they have. And so for us, primarily, we're here to try to be helpful. We're here to try to find ways that we can help make Hungary stronger. Because if Hungary is stronger, if the economy is settled, if things are working well here, then we are able to turn our attention to how we can work together outside of Hungary and the United States in doing good things elsewhere in the world.